start exactly on top of Ayin Vav. It says, Kol Menachos. Every korban mincha to unais shalish meis shifa v'chamish meis beita. Now, shifa means to rub the kernels, or we'll see in the Gemara possibly the dough. And the purpose of that was possibly to make it easier to remove the husks. Good morning. Welcome back.
Thank you.
And the beita was banging it with the fist. And
Minimum of 500?
Yeah.
Te'una means
Requires.
Pashta. It's part of the business.
And the beita was probably to make sure that it was evenly mixed and distributed, and maybe that the husks fell off. Now it says shifa. We'll see how it works. There's a ratio here. Shifa beita bechitin. Tanakama holds that this was done to the actual grain. Rabbi Yomi bebatik. Rabbi says that it was done to the dough. What would you do to the dough? It must be that it should be evenly distributed. The striking it.
It's a lot of
times. Yeah. We'll see. Rabbi Yirmiyah. We'll see.
we have a Rabbi
Yirmiyah today. A classic.
Where's
We're on Ayin Vav. We just started the Mishnah. Kol Menachos Bais eser. All the Menachos come 10 loaves each. Chutz Menachem apanim v'chaviti kain gadol shem b'hem shtei mesrei divrei Rabbi Yehuda. Except for two instances. That's the showbread, which is 2 columns of 6, which is 12. In the Chaviti Kain Gadol, which comes also 12. See how we know each of these.
I think in all the previous missions it was talking about an office of 10.
Yeah.
5 and 5 in the Machloek section.
Right.
Nobody mentioned 12.
Right. We'll see that we're going to have 2 polar cases. One which is clearly in the Torah 10, and another one, it's not clearly, it's Xer Shava. Another one is clearly in the Torah 12. The question is, all the Menachos that it doesn't mention, which side do we bring it to? That's basically the discussion. So this is the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda, that everything is 10 except for the few that are 12, the 2 that are 12. Reb Meir and Mekulam Bais Shtei Mesrei. No. Reb Meir says they're all 12. All of those that it doesn't talk about, all that it doesn't say clearly how many loaves to bring. Except for the loaves of the Taida and the loaves of the Nazir, which are 10. So you can probably figure out already that the loaves of the Taida and the Nazir are definitely 10. The Chavitin and the Lechem Apanim is definitely 12. And in the middle, that's the Machlekes Rabbi Yehuda is where you schlep it to the 10 or to the 12. The Gemara says Tana. Tana means that it was taught in a Braisa. Shof achas bayit shtayim. Shof shtayim bayit shalish. So it would work like this. I'm going to be a little bit vague because Rabbi Yomi has a question coming up. But you rub it and you bang twice. You rub it twice and you bang 3 times. And that would be, and then you would go back to the twice. To the rubbing it. Rubbing it. So it was like this beat that it would be, they would rub it and then they would rub it twice and then it would go back to that. So in school this would be a good way to get the kids to learn this.
So that's how you would get the rubbing of 300 and the kicking.
Yes. So it's 3 to 5. So 3 rubs because it was 1 and then 2.
Serious business.
And it was 2 and then 3. So it's ratio 3 to 5, which comes out to 300 rubbing and 500 striking.
Could have been done with different people, or had to be one guy?
Oh, I don't know. It sounds like it's.
Sounds like a lot of work.
A lot of work.
Well, let's see. It sounds like.
Keep track also. Count.
Oh yeah, that's the hard part. Like Hashem Elokim, no one knows where they're up to. But it sounds like it doesn't matter the person that's doing it. It sounds like it's an inyan in the grain, in the flour, not in the person. Boy, Rabbi Yirmiyah's question is a classic. Am tuyi v'asui echad, Dilma am tuyi v'asui shrei. When it says that you rub it, so what's considered a rub? Like this? Or is that already two because you went forward and backwards? Or is one rub considered the rub? What does it mean? It's a good question. It doesn't say clearly what it is. So, okay.
That's it.
That's his question. Take it. Shifa ubeita bechitin Rabbi Yisrael bebatzik. It's too quick, huh?
No, because you're talking about a machlokes when these are things that were done in the Bais Hamikdash. Nobody remembered.
Right. Rabbi Yirmiyah was later, but
when they wrote the Mishnah, nobody remembered.
But a lot of the way we answer questions like this is the way we answer the Rashi and Rabbeinu Tam Tefillin question. That at earlier stages in halacha, chronologically, early stages, it didn't actually matter. As the generations we get further from Matan Torah, we need to be more specific in the halacha because of whatever it is, the klipa or whatever. It needs to be more specific. So the earlier generations, you were Yotzei Tefillin with either Rashi or Rabbeinu Tam. And now, at the times of the Rishonim, they said no, it needs to be like this. Another one said no, it needs to be like that. Based on, look, before that's how it was done. They said, yes, that's how it was done, but then it didn't matter because we didn't need to be that specific. Mm-hmm. It's similar to the way we learn. The Mishnayos are very vague, then the Gemara breaks it down more. Everything gets more and more clarity in the darkness. It has to be clarified, clearer. Okay. Iboilahu. There's a question. The Bnei HaYeshiva had a question. B'batzik v'loi b'chitin. When Rabbi Yossi says that you had to rub and strike the dough, does he mean that it was only the dough? Or Dilma af b'batzik. Or maybe he says also in the dough. That's very strict. That you would need it 500 times, 300 and 500 in the wheat and 300 and 500 in the dough. The Gemara brings a very interesting raya, Tashma. Coming here, the Tanya was taught in a brisa, Shifa bita bechitin. The first opinion is that you rub and strike the wheat. Rabbi Yossi Omer, Shifa bita bebatzik. That you rub and strike the dough. The funny thing is, the way it brings a raya is that's no better than my Mishnah.
It's the same thing.
It's the same thing, but for some reason it's like clearly understood here what it's trying to say. I like what Tosfos says. Tosfos on the top, he says, "V'tesefta garsinan af bebatzik." Then I understand that. Then it's telling me clearly what I'm supposed to do. Af means also. And however, Tosfos then says, "V'tesefta dukanis davkanis legarsinan af." I guess that means that in a critical version of the Tosefta doesn't have that. Okay. The Tosefta is like a big study. We have a Tosefta that's published in the back of the large Gemaras. Some scholars think that it's not actually the Tosefta. They think that it's the Brises that are pulled out of the Shas and put there in collections, but it's not the original. But that's just speculation. The scholars work on the Tosefta. We had someone, Rabbi Cheskel Abramsky, heard of. He was almost Rosh Hashiva in Lubavitch. He knew the whole Tosefta by heart. He wrote a Pirish on it. He was put in Siberia the whole time in Siberia. Was chazering Tosefta. It's a big deal. And the Rebbe was very fond of a Svardish Rav David Pardu. He wrote Lametzeach David on Rashi. He wrote Chasti David on Tosefta. It's a big set of Tosefta, 12 volumes or something. Just a commentary on the Tosefta. So it's all, everything that wasn't put in the Mishnayos, they discuss it over there. Okay. Kol Menachos Bais Chulu. All the Menachos come, etc. They come 10 loaves, except for the Lechem Apanim and the Chaviti Kohen Gadol, which come 12. The Gemara now expounds on this. Where do we know this from? What's the source? What's the conflict? The conflict between Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Meir. Lechem Apanim behed yiksiv bei. Lechem Apanim, it says clearly that there's 12. What does it say? It says that there's 2 rows of 6. Let's see if I have a pasuk here. Yeah, it says you will take a flour, bake it into 12 loaves, 2 esrainim, 2/10 of a very large loaves, 2/10 of an isaron per loaf. Chaviti Kohen Gadol, the Kohen Gadol sacrifice that he brought every day, the meal sacrifice, meal offering. As yechuka chuka milechem apanim. We have a gzeir shava. It says the word chayk by the Kohen Gadol. It says chak olam la Hashem kol takter. That's what it says there. By the lechem apanim it says kodesh kadashim hilai misha Hashem chak olam. It says the word chayk. So that chayk is called a gzeir shava, verbal analogy. We take the halachas of one and we apply it to the other because it uses the same term. So we know that each of those are 12. One is clear in the pasuk and one is a gzeir shava. Kol Menachos, the Bais Eser Midin Alan. But where do we know that the other ones are 10? Rabbi Yehuda holds that all the others are 10. Gomer milach mitaida. We learn from the lach mitaida. Malahal on Eser, just like the loaves of a Thanksgiving offering are 10 loaves. He has to bring 4 types of breads, but each type is 10 loaves. Just like over there, it's 10 loaves. Avkan Eser. Also by all the other menachas, it's 10 loaves. The Gemara asks, "V'leilef milechem apanim." Why are you learning all the other menachas from the Taida? Because that has meal offerings. Well, the lechem apanim is also a meal offering, and that's 12. Ma'alahalan shtei mesrei, avkan shtei mesrei. Just like there, it's 12. This should be 12. Gemara says no. We're already used to this type of comparisons. Mistabra, it's more logical that we should compare milach mitaida, havalela milach, that we should compare it to the breads of the Thanksgiving offering. Okay, this is a big deal. What do you compare it to? Is it more similar?
In the past,
we've done this before. It's
7,
exactly
10,
the same. Exactly the same type of thing.
Which one has more similarity?
Right. There's a Gemara in Brachas that discusses where should we say Atachin Antanu after Shabbos. In which part of Shemona Esrei should it be its own bracha? This Gemara says no. You should say it in Das, which is asking Hashem for knowledge. It says because Atachin Antanu is division, saying this is different than that, this is different than that. There's a bunch of things that are different, 7 differences. So it says in main das, if there's no knowledge, so how are you able to make any differences? So it's all about comparisons. It takes great knowledge to show where do we have contrasts. So we're going to do comparisons here. We're comparing a regular mincha where someone brings a donation to either a taida, Thanksgiving offering, or the lechem apanim. First of all, Shekein Yachid. A taida and a regular mincha is brought by an individual. Lechem apanim is community. Hamisnadev, it's given as a donation. Lechem apanim is an obligation. So the taida is matching up better with the menachos. Shemen, they both have oil. The lechem apanim didn't have oil. Nifsal, if you leave it overnight, it becomes pasul. The lechem apanim stays for 7 days. Shalei b'Shabbos, it's not brought on Shabbos. Lechem apanim is brought on Shabbos. Shalei b'tumah, If they're impure, they can't bring it. Lechem apanim is brought even if they're impure. It's a carbon tzibur. The Gemara says, okay, that's nice, but adarabba, on the contrary, melechem apanim habalei lemelaf. It's more comparable to the lechem apanim. You should learn from the lechem apanim. Shekein hekdesh, a regular mincha is kodesh kadashim, which means that it's eaten by the kayanim. The taida is eaten by the owners. It's kachim kalim. The lechem apanim is eaten by the kayanim, so it's more similar to the lechem apanim. Levaina, carbon taida doesn't have levaina. The lechem apanim has the 2 spoons of frankincense, just like a regular mincha. Matzah, the carbon taida has 1 type of loaf, that's chametz. The lechem apanim is matzah, and a carbon mincha is matzah. The etzem, it's brought on its own. It's the carbon taida is brought together with a shlamim, with an animal sacrifice. Gemara says hanach nefishin. The first one is more. Let me just count it out. Yachid hamisnadev shemen nifsal shlei b'shabbos shlei b'tumah. It's 6, and the lechem apanim is hektish levaina matzah ve'etzem is only 4. Okay. Ve'isviralan, and if you hold davar alamid b'gzeira shava chayzim alamid b'binyanav. I don't know if you remember this from Yizam Kaiman. We had several pages, which we considered probably the hardest Gemara that we learned so far, of if you learn, if something is derived from a Gzeir Shava, can you then take it as if it's a primary source and use that to teach other things? And then we tried every type of limud, and we went back and forth. So if you say that something that could be learned through a Gzeir Shava, which in our case is the Chavite Kohen Gadol, which is learned from the Gzeir Shava from Lechem Apanim, it says Chuka Chuka. Now let's do a comparison between the a regular mincha to the Chavite Kohen Gadol. So Neilach mi Chavite Kohen Gadol. I know it's not a primary source, but it's learned with the Gzeir Shava. We'll consider it a primary source. Ma'ala halin shtei Misrei afkan shtei Misrei. So it says Mistabra melach mitoida havalei lamelav. No, it still makes sense that we should learn from the lach mitoida, which means that there's only 10 loaves. Shekein hedyet, a regular kayan. That's a kayan gadol. Can't compare. This is a regular person, a regular kayan, or not a regular kayan, just a regular person. The taida and the mincha, but that's a kayan gadol. She's nadev. This is brought as a donation. That's an obligation. The chaviti kayan gadol, he has to bring it every day. Chatzoin. The Chavita Kohen Gadol is brought in half. This is not brought in half in the morning, half in the afternoon, the Chavita Kohen Gadol. This is brought whole. Lepigel. The Chavita Kohen Gadol cannot become pigel, because pigel is only applicable to something that has a matir. It means I take a kaimetz and I offer it up, and while I'm doing the kaimetz, I have thoughts of eating the rest of it at the wrong time. Here, by the Chavita Kohen Gadol, there's no kaimetz. You just burn the whole thing. There's no matir, there's no pigel. So a regular mincha is more similar to the taida. Shalei b'Shabbos. A Chavita Kohen Gadol is brought on Shabbos. Regular menachos in the taida are not. Shalei b'tumah. It's not brought b'tumah. Chavita Kohen Gadol would be brought b'tumah. The Gemara says no. You could do it the other way. Adarabba, the contrary. Chavita Kohen Gadol avalei lamela. Watch this. Shekeni saran. It's only brought as an isaran, just like a regular mincha. However, the taida is several esrainim. How many exactly? There's possibly 4. Does it say by you a note? And I'll check over here. Ishkama. It doesn't say how many. Okay. But it's more than 1, which means that it's not similar to the Chavita Kohen Gadol and the regular mincha. Eily. What is the Eily? The chavitin and the menachos require a vessel. The lach mitoida is not sanctified with a vessel. The lach mitoida is sanctified with the shechita of the sacrifice. So it's more similar to the chavitin, to the kohen gadol's. Hektish, both of them are Kodesh Kadashim. A taida is Kachim Kalim. Levaina. They both have Levaina. And Matzah. They also don't have any chametz in them. The taida has chametz. The etzem. They come on their own. They don't come with the sacrifice. The Taida comes with the sacrifice. So we're seeing similarities to the Kohen Gadol's offering. Hagasha, it's brought close to the altar. We learned about this. Tenufa and Hagasha. The Chavit Kohen Gadol is not brought close to the Taida is not brought close to the altar. The Chavitin is the Ishim, and it's put on the fire. What is the Taida is not put on the fire? The Taida is entirely eaten, except for the animal, which is a shlamim. But none of the loaves are put on the fire. There's no kaimetz that goes on the fire. And the Gemara concludes, Vahani Nefishin. So let me just count it out. The Lachmi Taida was
big court case going on.
Hedyot, Isnadev, Chatzoyen, Lepigol, Shlei B'Shabbos, Shlei B'Tumah, which is 5. And the Chavitin is Isaran, Keli, Hektish, Levayna, Matzah, Etzem, Hagasha, and Ishim, which is 8. So it's 8 to 5. It should be more comparable to the Chavitin. And that's what we've been doing in the past. We've been saying Hanach Nefishin. This is more. That seemed to be outweighed.
Let's take out the ace card.
So it says Hedit Mehedit Adifla. It's still better, even with all you have a lot. But the comparison between a regular person bringing a mincha and a regular person bringing a common person bringing a carbon taida is more similar than the Kohen Gadol sacrifice.
Wow, that's so cool.
Okay. That was the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda. We see already what Rav Meir is going to hold. Rav Meir says that it's comparable to that all Menachos have 12. But we already did the work, sort of. Rav Meir Bais Rav Meir says that to 12. Micah Savar. What does Rav Meir hold? We're going to give 2 options here. Isvir leidavar alamid bigzer shava chayzer malamid binyanav. So yalach mechavit kan gadol da'ani nefishin. We already said he can learn from the Chavit Kohen Gadol. Why? Because he holds that I can learn from something that was derived through a Gezerah Shava, as if it's a primary source. And the comparisons are more than with carbon taida. But I have another option. Or else he can say something else. He can say that I can't learn from the Chavit Kohen Gadol. Why? Because it's not a primary source. The whole way that I know Chavit Kohen Gadol is because I got it from Lechem Apanim. We're on Ayin Vav. And so how am I going to know that all the other Menachos are 12? I can't learn from Chavit Kohen Gadol. It's not a primary source. So he says no. Yalef mi Lechem Apanim. He can learn from the primary source, the Lechem Apanim. We said that, but there's more similarities to a Taida. He said yes, but he pulls out the ace card and he says hektish me hektish adifla. No, those are both kodesh kadashim. A taida is kachim kalim. It's in the wrong category.
Wow.
So there's a bigger similarity between a regular carbon mincha, and the lechem apanim to a taida.
The poil, who's?
Oh, Rabbi and Rabbi Yehuda. Usually the rule would be that we go like Rabbi Yehuda. If there's a Stam Mishnah, we say the Stam Mishnah is Reb Meir, and we go like the Stam Mishnah. But if it actually tells us the names, Reb Meir and Rabbi Yehuda, the rule would be that we would go like Rabbi Yehuda. Unless there are other sources and different things that mix in. And
so it would mean that Hedjit, the logic of Hedjit Mehedjit Alifla, is stronger than Hektish Mehektish Alifla? Just as a general...
Yeah, that's what would come out. That's interesting because you're looking at that part of it, the logic of it. That's interesting. Okay. I was thinking about the 10, 12.
No, because that's a Machagin Mitzis. Here we're talking about it as a rule for future. It's better to hedge it by hedging.
Okay. Chutz milach mitayda nazir shem bayin eser. Even Reb Meir holds that all Menachos are 12, but he acknowledges that the polar, there's the extreme, which is the Lachmi Taida, and the breads of a Nazir, which are only 10. Lachmi Taida, behed yiksiv behu. Lachmi Taida, it says clearly. We're going to see what it means clearly. Nazirus, the Amar Mar. Nazirus, it's based on something that the master said, quoting a Brisa. Shlamov, l'Rabbi Shalmi Nazir. The Taida is called a Shlamim, and the Nazir sacrifice is called a Shlamim. Now, we make a comparison between the Taida Shlamim and the Nazir Shlamim, and we say that just like the Taida is 10 loaves, also the Shlamim, also the Nazir is 10 loaves. Amar Rav Tuvi bar Kisna Amar Shmuel. Rav Tuvi bar Kisna says in the name of Shmuel, Lachmi Taida Shafan Arba Chalis Yatza. Did I skip something? Where does the Gemara say where it says that it's 10? Oh, okay, it's going to come up right here. If you didn't make the Lachmi Taida, you have 4 different types. It feels like I skipped somewhere. I was supposed to explain to you where we get this from. Let me tell you, and maybe the Gemara is going to say it somewhere. What it says is, how do we know that? It says Behedia, but it doesn't really say that. What it says is that you have to take Truma. That you have to take Truma out of it and give it to the Kayan. That's by the Taida. And because I have to take Truma out of it, it means that it needs to be, we're comparing it to Trumas Meiser, where the Levi takes 1/10 and gives it to the Kayan, which means that 1 loaf would have been 1 out of 10. So he has to take 1 from each and give it to the Kayan. Let's see, I looked at the Gemara says it somewhere. I thought it would have been explained before we get to this. So Lachmi Taida She'afan Arba Chalis Yatza. Shmuel says that instead of making 40 loaves, he made only 4 massive loaves. Like, remember those Uncle Moshe, this big wedding chalas, right? So, you're Yaitza. The Gemara asks, but you need 40, because you need 10 of each of the 4 types. It says, no, that's the mitzvah. It's not ma'akev, because you have 4 different types of loaves. You have chalais, which are matzahs, and then you have which is not chametz, and then you have the revucha, which was boiled first, and then you have the ones that are chametz. So you have 4 different types of loaves. 10. It's supposed to be 10 from each type.
So why are they always talking about 10? Just 10. It doesn't talk about 40.
Well, it's 10. It's 10 from each type, and there's 4 different types. So.
But I don't understand. It's 4 different types. A person could choose one of the 10.
No. He has to bring all 4. That's the.
The whole time the Gemara is talking about 10.
Yeah, that's by all the menachos, and then we talk about the carbon taida is also 10, but it means that I have to bring 4 different types of menachos for the carbon taida. Each one needs to be 10 loaves. Okay. The Gemara now says that 4 is enough, that 1 of each. So it says the 10 that we said of each type, that's only lemitzvah. It's not la'akiv. Gemara says, but 1 second, it has to be ma'akiv. You have to take away 1 to give it to the Kayan. What would it mean, echad? That you take off a bit. You take off a slice. So, I'm sorry, mikol chada v'chada, if you say, echad is the next sentence. If you say that you take a slice from each one, so echad amar rachmana. It says that you have to take 1, shla yitel paras. You can't slice it. How are you going to take truma off it if it's only 4 loaves? The Gemara explains that for Shinu Belisha. That you take it off from the dough. There's a discussion in the Mefarshim, in this Gemara, if that means that you have to separate the dough into 10 different pieces, and you take off one, or if that, and then you would mix it all back together and bake it as one, or if that means that you just take a pinch, like we take challah. It doesn't have to be 10 separate
Or
ones.
you take a series from the
dough.
From the dough.
Other
That's
Mefarshim say that what it means is that you have 10 separate pieces of dough. One of them goes to the kohen, and then you mix them all together and you bake it as one, and that would be our case. There's two ways of learning it. Yeah, correct.
So if it's supposed to be like Meiser, why can't you just take 4 loaves out of the 40?
You do.
Amen.
You do take 4 out of the 40. What we're saying here is that instead of making 40 loaves, he made all of those loaves, and so just 4 big loaves. Now he has to take like Meiser off it. So how does he do it if it's... Okay, Meisvei, the Gemara has a question. Kol menachos sheriba b'midas chalasan, all menachos that you added to the amount of the chalas. That means that instead of 10, you made 11 or 12, which you weren't supposed to. Or you diminish the amount of chalas. It says ksheris. It's kosher. Chutz milechem apanim, v'chaviti kain gadol, v'lachmei taido naziris. It says clearly that you're not allowed to diminish the amount of loaves. And here, instead of doing 10, you only did 1. Or instead of 40, you did 4. So the Gemara explains. Hu the Amar ki haytana. Shmuel goes like a different Tana. So in other words, you quoted to me a Brisa, but it doesn't mean that Shmuel needs to hold like that Brisa. If there is a Machlekes Tanaim, Shmuel can say, I go like the other Tana. The Tanya was taught in a Brisa. Kol ha-menachos sheriba b'midas chalasan, ishmiet b'midas chalasan ksheris. The Brisa says that any mincha that you increase the amount of loaves or you diminish the amount of loaves, it's still kosher. Chutz milechem apanim b'chavit kain gadol. Except for the lechem apanim and the chavitin, which we know those need to be 12, and one is, it says in the pasuk, and one is a gzer shavah. V'yesh aimrem.
But it's give you the measurement, I don't remember. For each...
Yeah, we're going to see in the next Mishnah.
Okay.
The Yeshayim, and some say, Aflach meitaydo naziris. See what's going on here? Some say lach meitayda. What is that? What in naziris? That if you diminish, it's puzzle. What's the first opinion hold? Not lach meitayda. That it's kosher. It's kosher even if you diminish. So Shmuel would hold like the first opinion, not like the Yeshayim. Okay. Amar Rav Huna. Minchas maifa she'afa chalachas yatsa. Remember the Minchas Maifa Tana, there's 5 types